go here. Good morning and welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Good, Todd. It's great to, as always, the New Media Show is always a great place to be on Saturday mornings. We've enjoyed it for many years, haven't we?
We have. And Rob, I curse you. It's dark outside my windows.
It's all my fault. I agree. It's sunny here, Todd. It's warm. The wind is blowing off the ocean, and it's like 70 degrees here.
There's daylight savings time required me to wake up at 4:45 in the morning to get ready for the show.
You are a committed podcaster, Todd. I have to admit.
Oh my God, that alarm went off. I had a few beers last night, and I was like, wasn't just a couple. But it's like, I could really use about another 2 hours.
Minimum, right?
So here we are. The sun will come up in the window here in an hour or so. But yes, it's 6 a.m. in Honolulu. So good morning, podcasters. How are you? So Rob, first things first, I just got to say, you do not want to be in the middle of a squabble over the ownership of a podcast.
Yeah. Or just a squabble between two co-hosts or one that's taking control. I mean, so let's lay out an example, and you probably have one here.
Yeah.
Is you have a co-host and a host, right?
Yep.
And they've split responsibilities for their podcast. Like one does the website, one does the editing, all that stuff like that, and they all have passwords to everything. And somehow that they get into a tiff between themselves, they start fighting, and one runs off, changes the password of half of the logins that the podcast needs to publish, and the other one changes the other ones to different passwords, and then they start feuding. And oftentimes the host gets, a host platform like ours, right, gets pulled into this thing.
Right.
It's like they want you to lock this other guy out of their account, and you're like going, you can't really do that, So So go ahead and tell your story, Todd, because I know you went through it this week.
So we had and I'll see if I can be careful here. It was a production person, apparently, not even a host. And the individual, I won't go into the details from what we were told, but all I know is that the production person was fired, and they then posted a nasty episode about how awful their prior employer was. They got control of their WordPress site relatively quickly, but they were on Blueberry. You can publish 3 different ways. You can post on WordPress PowerPress. You can log in to, or if you don't want to do it that way, you can log into Blueberry and publish right on Blueberry and get the video embed, audio embed, and have the RSS feed on blueberry.com, or you can have a PowerPress site. So they were the middle factor. They were logging in to Blueberry, and we actually don't usually even advertise that. We do it for companies that don't have WordPress. And anyway, so long story short, we changed the account information, but the email, we changed the password, but the original host didn't get control of the email that was on the account. It turned into, it went ping pong back and forth until they got control of the email address, which was on there under their .com. Somehow they had not locked him out of his email address when they fired him. So it wasn't because we thought, we're solved, we're good. We've done our part. We know that, we look at the domain register, we look at all this information, and yeah, it can be ugly. So, my advice here is to all of you that have a partner, you may be best of friends.
Things can turn quickly.
Things can go sideways. And when they do, he could have deleted the entire show.
Oh, yeah.
And took it all down, canceled service. I mean, even if he had the masters, they were, unless they had copies, they were done. So
I've seen it where let's say you had a co-host, and the co-host was considered to be kind of a part owner of the show, and they got ostracized, and then there was like this feud that happened, and the current, or the show host that took over, and kicked this guy out, starts bashing this other guy on the podcast. And then this other guy that got ostracized reaches out to the hosting platform that says, well, this show is harassing me. You need to take them down because they're violating their terms of service by harassing people. And so you get into that type of situation too, which can be very complicated. And I think that the big message here, Todd, and I think there's no way to entirely avoid this stuff, because people have conflicts. Not everybody gets along, and that's just the nature of human beings. I just think you just have to do the best you can and get through it. I mean, it's not going to happen to everybody, and it certainly has never happened to me. I've never had a co-host or somebody that was involved in my show, because I always maintain very strong control of my show. From if I bring in a co-host or somebody like that, they have just a very limited role in the production of the show. All they come in, and they're basically like talent, right? They would just come in and join the show and contribute their thoughts. But I would maintain control of all of the publishing and all the hosting and all of the key elements that make the show available online. And I think that's important for a co-host to maintain that, or a host to maintain that, and just bring in a co-host as talent.
Well, and then we had a I don't even know if I should tell this. We had a tech support call where the individual had, we think, been on some substances.
Oh, okay.
And
that always spices things up.
And he was convinced that someone had logged into his website, published an episode that sounded just like him. Oh yeah, it was an interesting one. So you guys are keeping it interesting out there for sure. So
it's safe to say if it can happen, it probably will.
That's right. Yes. So it was, so yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff happens. But no, it's just like the standard world of podcasting. But I think just listening to my support team and everything, we've got we're in a time frame of a lot of hand holding. It's okay, but it's pretty incredible, the amount of hand holding that is required these days. But that's okay. We help people get started.
Oh yeah. It's just human beings don't get along all the time, so things come up. Fortunately, it's not very often.
That's right. That's
the big thing. Yeah.
So I have to read something to you. You're gonna love this. I had a little back and forth on a Slack channel, and here's I was basically saying there was a service came out with something, and I was kind of like, okay, whatever. It's it's been done. Other people are doing it. It's something I'm not getting excited about. And so I kind of got beat up by a couple of people, and then I got this individual, and I don't know if he's a company owner, if he's a podcaster. He says, there's an estimated 48 million listeners. Do you really think they're all like you and have the same wants and needs as an affluent, able-bodied, middle-aged white male?
Okay.
I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
We're gonna go there, huh? And
I guess so.
so he obviously was triggered by my opinion. I'm not allowed to have an opinion, and this is very concerning that I'm not allowed to have an opinion. I said I agree to disagree with what you're saying, but I'm going to maintain my opinion that this is something that podcasters don't need. And I'm not even going to go into the topic, but I said we have never received this as a feature request by our shows. Well, maybe you get some more customers. It's okay. It's all good. But we start going into a slippery slope. The rest of the world can have their issues, but for God's sakes, podcasters are allowed their opinions. If we start trying to badger people into not being allowed to have an opinion, we're in trouble. In podcasting.
It's the freedom of speech thing. If you don't say what they agree with, you shouldn't be saying anything at all, right? Is that the bigger message?
Yeah, and I said, I had responded to it. I said, I find your comment about a white male very insulting. You obviously don't know me. You would not say that if you did. He says, I'm sorry you feel insulted, but it's not an insult. I'm like, in what world do you live in that that's not an insult?
Yeah.
Was it an insult? Am I wrong? Did I overreact?
I don't think it was. I mean, I think it was an insult from him. Yeah.
Right.
You didn't insult him. You were just standing up for your rights.
No, I mean, and I was just basically saying, I don't think this is needed. Okay, I might be wrong. I might be the old curmudgeon, and I might be wrong, and people might go crazy. But it's just, again, it's one of those things, Rob. We've been here in the space this long, and I'm basing my opinion on my entire time in the space and knowing how people are promoting their shows and doing stuff. I understand the social space is changing, but and I use social tools all the time. But yeah, I'm just the old white guy.
Well, Todd, we've been around a long time, so I guess we have to fess up to that, right?
And if you saw how I lived, affluent is the last word I would use. You don't live affluent in Hawaii unless you like make like millions of dollars. And the last time I checked, that I don't.
Yeah, it's an expensive place to live, so it's all going to pay the sales taxes and the property taxes and the electric bill. And
I get up in the morning, put my pants on just like everyone else. I have a 1,900 square foot house, 4 bedrooms with 3 kids in it, and a 2,900 square foot lot with a patch of grass is about as big as a postage stamp. So yes, I am living affluent.
And thank goodness it's a postage stamp because you have to mow it very often, right, Todd?
Yeah. I will say I do have a lot of grass compared to my neighbor, so I guess I am affluent in grass.
Oh, okay.
The green grass, not the kind you smoke.
Yeah, you're growing that in your front yard, right?
Yeah. So we have to be careful as podcasters. I understand people get passionate about features and services and the latest shiny object, and it's like that fishing lure. My grandfather, when I was a young kid, he served in World War II, and he was out here in Hawaii, and he had deep water fishing lures that he had made and bought, and I was, as a small kid, oh my God, Grandpa, look at those! Can I use those in fishing? And he humored me. And we went fishing, and I used those in freshwater fishing and didn't catch a thing, But little did I know they were designed for deep water saltwater fishing. They weren't designed for fresh lake, fishing for trout.
Yeah.
It was designed to catch a mahi-mahi, a big fish. And so even though something's shiny and cool, doesn't mean that it's going to be impactful. That was a pretty good analogy, wasn't it?
It is a pretty good analogy. I like that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my rant for the day. I'll come off the soapbox, but a lot of stuff happening, a lot of news.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a lot going on. I got an email from a guy that is running a transcription service, which we've talked about that quite a bit. A podcast audio transcription service, and this one appears to be free. I know most of them charge for it, which that's probably a better business model than free. But it's free. It's at podcasterpro.com. Actually, I dropped my podcast feed in it.
All right. How does he do it for free?
I don't know if this is just a temporary thing or what he's doing, but they will transcribe 10 episodes in your feed, and then they will continue to update the transcriptions for new episodes, I guess, going forward. And you can get an email, and that email has a text file in it that has your transcription, and it's broken out by kind of like segments.
Right. So
it'll have like a 5-minute segment that will be transcribed, and then it's in chunks. It looks like it's a pretty good transcription. I mean, it looks like it's fairly accurate. So they're doing a pretty good job.
So I just brought up their nice website.
It's really, really easy to use. You just cut and paste your RSS feed. You create an account, and you start getting emails of the transcriptions of your entire podcast.
Wow. So what? Yeah. I'm looking for the catch.
I haven't seen one yet. Plus, it has tools here to socially share it. You can download it right off of the website, and it has like an embeddable capability too.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not a big fan of transcription services.
Yeah.
But I know some solo podcasts, ones that kind of share like a topic, like a very specific topic, over a course of like maybe a 20 or 30-minute conversation with their audience. I think this can be something that can be helpful to them if they want to generate an article based on the content that they talked about in their show. I think it may not be as polished as it needs to be an article, but I think it's possible to be able to voice your podcast and to create written content as well in a simpler way. It's a way to kind of use your content in multiple ways. And I know, Todd, we've both been advocates of getting textual content out there as well. And I've not been a big fan of transcriptions myself up to this point because they've typically been so expensive. But if you can leverage this into something that can help you in the search engines and get a different kind of reader that then could turn into a listener, it might have some marketing opportunities here.
So I've talked about transcription a lot on this show, and okay, I'm just saying this. If you implement transcription, be very, very, very careful on how you implement it. Because if you implement it incorrectly, Google will take your transcription as if you are text stuffing. They'll take it as it's your text stuffing into your blog post. So don't ever just cut and paste your transcript into your blog post. This needs to be an attached PDF or something to that effect. You should never ever. Yeah,
you could probably take sections of it.
Sections.
Right? If you have a very very specific topic that you want to highlight.
But it has to be super contextual. It can't be spoken word. It has to be manipulated to be written for Google. Remember, you write for Google, you record your podcast for your audience. That's, it has to be,
and also about links too, Todd. You can't put too many links into it too, right? Because then it looks like a link farm. Right?
Links aren't, how I do links, and I'm the master. Let me just show you here. Links are, incredibly important, but I do it, there we go. Now, Google would normally, if you see this on the screen, folks, those of you who are listening, there's 30 some links for the articles I covered in Geek News Central. That, without some manipulation, would immediately get you hammered for being a link farm, because there's no context. There's just titles and links, title and link, title, and one word title. Walmart, Android Wear. So every one of these
usually needs to be text that wraps around those links for Google to give it credibility, right?
So all of these links have no follow on them. They have a no follow tag. I have a plugin that I use that I basically everything below show notes has a no follow. Everything above my show notes links is actually indexable by Google. So I tell Google, don't index this. And because I tell them not to index those links, they don't penalize me. I learned this the hard way. I was about
5 years ago.
5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, you got hammered.
I got hammered, and I'd been doing it for years and years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
And so I actually started, and the site still exists. You guys are going to laugh. I went to posting the actual. I actually went to posting the links on another domain. So this just gives you an idea. So I basically linked within my blog post till I figured out how to fix this with Google. I actually sent the links over to gncshow.notes.com, and that basically got me out of the penalty box, because I had my regular show notes, and then I linked to this page which had the link farm, and I actually did this for much longer than I should have. I didn't get schooled up on what I should do on my normal site, but when I finally did and added these no follow links on geeknewscentral.com, then within days, my traffic came back. Because I went from like 50,000 hits a day to the website to like 1,000. I mean, I got hammered. So this is the caution you have to have in doing transcripts implemented incorrectly, and Google will shoot you in the face. So yeah,
Todd, what's let's parse this out. What's the difference between a transcription and posting an article?
Okay, posting an article, there's context. It's written. It's not written as a conversation. Now what you can do, and maybe
if it's a Q&A kind of thing.
It's a Q&A.
A Q&A type of article, you could probably turn it into.
You probably could. You could turn a Q&A into an article, but you're going to have to edit and take off the superfluous stuff that you're going to post into the blog post.
That's true. No, I agree with that. I think you do have to do some editing to the transcription.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're going to, and in order to get it in there, and again, there's a happy medium here. It's a great way, especially if the topic is conversational enough, that you can post it as a paragraph or two, as a distinct response from a question. Tony, how did you, rebuild that motor? And well, Todd, I went through this step, and, increased the bore or whatever, and if you have that as a response that's not too long, that doesn't go on for an hour, and remove the stuff where you talk about where you busted your knuckles, or had trouble here, and keep it to the facts and keep it distinct, I think you'll be okay with the transcription.
Mm-hmm.
And then have the PDF file linked somewhere where you've got the full transcript. Then, see how many people click on it. That's not, well, the problem is link farms are going to, not link farms, but you're going to get, it's hard to tell on web stats how much traffic an actual transcript's going to get. But
so, Todd, how does Google treat that linked document that you're talking about that has the deep show notes?
It's a doc. It's definitely treated.
So, does it get placed high in the search results too in relation to that topic,
no,
or is there?
No,
doesn't.
No.
So, is there really an advantage to actually?
The advantage is it's linked on your website. It says transcript, and you tell your audience there's a transcript. And
okay, so it's targeted more probably to your listener base than it is to Google per se. I mean, are you going to get Google juice out of that, or
if you're writing your show notes correctly and you're getting indexed and you're ranking fairly high on your blog post, then when you're indexed and when someone comes to the website that's not a listener, this is how Geek News Central, and I've told this many, many times, I gain a lot of listeners from Google search traffic that comes to the site, says, oh, cool, let me read this. Oh, cool, he's got a podcast. Oh, subscribe. So it, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so it's actually catering. So you have different audiences that you're trying to do.
Oh, yeah.
On your website, you're catering to Google with some things, and you're catering to your listeners with other areas, right? Of what you're producing in there, because you're talking about things in the show. You're saying, well, all the things that we're talking about in this episode, you're going to be able to find at my website, right?
Right.
All the links, right? So you're driving your listeners to the website, but yet you're picking up listeners off of Google who are coming in interested in that topic, and then you're able to deliver a deeper context off this PDF for your audience. And so that's who your target is. So you have different audiences that you're trying to appeal to, it sounds like.
Well, okay. in the way, how have I kept GoDaddy as a sponsor since 2005? If my audience wasn't changing and growing, so what podcasters are going to find out is, and Rob, we've been at this so long, I've had listeners leave, come back, leave, come back, leave, come back, 3 or 4 rotations. They listen for a couple of years, and they leave. They're gone for a couple of years. They come back and say, hey, I'm back. And get the email, hey, I'm back listening to the show. Yeah. And then, it's you get this ebb and flow. No one wants to listen to the same person forever. Let's be frank. So you have to do something. Those people are rolling off the left, those are leaving. You got to have a way to ingest new on the other side. And that's the failure of most podcasters. And they don't have anything besides their show to drive eyeballs to their websites.
Do you have a strategy, Todd, to bring those people back?
Blogging.
That maybe came in?
No.
Came in and listened to your show for like maybe a year or so, and then they left?
I don't.
Is there a way to bring those people back?
I don't. Unless they're signed up for the newsletter.
There you go.
But
that's one way.
That's, and I encourage them every episode. But the blog is where, I get the new listeners come in. And I think I did the numbers one time, and I knew kind of the flow in and the flow out. When your show gets big enough, losing 1,000, gaining 1,000 is just a thing. But that the blog is key to the traffic to the website. I mean, to the health of the show.
And Todd, I think this is an important topic because I'm hearing more and more podcasters, and this has been a worry of mine for a while, is that we've been growing so fast on the content side that I just worry that the audience isn't growing at the same rate necessarily, and that more and more podcasters are starting to ask about, well, my show's not growing fast enough. I mean, it's a perennial topic, right? It's like, how do I grow my audience? And I think it's becoming, the reality is it's becoming harder and harder to grow a show. And I think these topics are really important to, I think, the health of the industry, is to try and solve some of these problems and to help these new podcasters find their audience. And I think, I mean, it's something that I'm thinking more and more about, and I know you've been thinking about it for a long time with your own show, of trying to help people reach their niche, right? How do we help shows be successful? Because one of the things that we want to avoid is shows starting up and pod fading.
Yep.
And because maybe they didn't, maybe even over a course of a year, they never achieved any audience, and then they just quit and drop out. Now, granted, that's going to happen naturally in any medium. Not every show is going to make it, not every show, but you got to look at the big picture of what's happening in this medium. If the content side is growing faster than the audience is, we're going to have the potential of a bubble popping here, and it worries me.
And and I saw someone on Podcast Movement Facebook page asked this exact question the other day, and I really have some very simple tenets I ask podcasters when they're complaining about their show growth. And I say, are you giving listeners a reason to come to your website on non-podcasting days? Number one. That answer is no. Problem. Number two, in your podcast, are you telling listeners to come to your website to subscribe to your show? And if you're sending them to iTunes, first off, problem number two. Number three, when they come to your website and they land on your webpage, can they subscribe immediately to your show? Immediately when they land on your page. So what happens when they land on my page? What's there right in the right-hand column? On every page, 15,000 articles on Geek News Central. Every page at the very top, it's subscribe to podcasts, Apple Podcasts on Android by email, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, soon, obviously Spotify, and via RSS. Right there in their face, every single page. And I tell podcasters, if you're not doing it, and there was a couple other things I said, but if you're not doing at least those three things as a minimum, start there.
Yeah.
Now, here's Rob. I have customers that are coming to us. They don't want a website. They just want an RSS feed. I'm not going to say no. We're going to take them as a customer and give them a RSS feed, give them an embed, a single page landing page for their show, the SoundCloud model. They want that? Cool. All right. But that we know is not, it's just like all these folks going to Anchor. It just, it's sexy, it's shiny, it's new, it's free. And there's going to be a lot of disappointment over there in the long run, I think, my prediction. But we'll see. Maybe they'll survive. Maybe it'll be the only free service will ever survive. Then they get bought.
Well, it also, Todd, maybe it has the opportunity of bringing new podcasters into the medium, but then again, it's also going to, I think, bring a lot of disappointment to a bunch of new people in the medium too, right?
Well, we're already migrating every week a significant number of shows off the platform, because what happens is they get 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes in, they start doing some research,
and they find that it's not a great place to be.
Maybe I should start building my brand.
Yeah. And that may be that may be a good thing somewhat. Maybe it's attracting new content creators. And they grow up.
Right. But I wonder if a lot of them are talking to each other over there versus talking to listeners over there. So
yeah, agreed.
But I don't know, that's just my, hey, do what you want to do. There's no rules. You can I'm the old white guy.
That's That's right. We've been tagged, haven't we? We're the old white guys. The OGs is what we're called, right? The old guys.
Gosh. But, Rob, we laugh when we say that, but we also have to keep our eyes open, too. Even though we're the old white guys, we have to keep looking at this space every day and making sure that we're not becoming those old curmudgeons.
Yeah, well, I think, we still need to help others, and we still need to learn what's working, because this is a changing landscape. I mean, what worked for us 10 years ago or 5 years ago may not work today. The medium has changed, and it continues to evolve and change and become more competitive, and there's more in different ways that you can succeed at this. And there's plenty of shows that are succeeding out there. It's just that somehow, it's turned into this competitive thing, and I don't know that people are sharing as much as they did in the earlier days of this medium about how to build an audience and how to grow. And I think people tend to hold on to those strategies because they feel like they've worked hard to earn that, and they want to have a competitive advantage in the market. And so I think we've kind of moved into that phase where when podcasting started, everybody was like sharing what works, and the rising tide of the community was most important. And I'm not sure that we have that approach anymore. I think it's we try and do it here on this show, but I think we have a different agenda here. Let's be honest about it. We're trying to grow the number of podcasters that are coming into the medium because we have hosting platforms,
of course,
and that's important to us. But also, what's important to us is those podcasters maintain their hosting accounts and keep their subscriptions with us, which drives us into this area of wanting to help people find more success. Because if they don't, then they're going to cancel their accounts and move on. So we have the motivation to help this medium grow to its potential because we're looking at it from both sides.
And at the same time, I'm not actively involved in the day-to-day front lines of, I obviously I talk to enterprise customers and that type of stuff, but I'm, my support team is largely the ones that are directing, these new podcasters to resources, things that they can look at and review. But we're in a situation now in a time frame, and the 120 characters or 240 characters of Twitter have individuals with very, 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 very short attention spans. And I learned this a number of years ago, that I could send an email when I was doing stuff for the Navy. I could send an email and I would say, Step 1, take the screw out. Step 2, disconnect the connector. Step 3, pull the box out. Step 4, put the box back. So I could go through these steps, right? And invariably, I would get an email back saying we still have a problem, but they only completed steps 1 and 2. They would not go through the rest of the email. So I had to be very short and distinct in my instructions, or we lost people. We couldn't go into these long, just like I'm doing now, can't go into this long, drawn out, getting to the point thing. People don't have time for it. They want, boom, they just give me the meat. And so I've just told the team, just give them the meat, give them exactly what they want, tell them exactly what to do. Don't suggest, tell, and do it in a nice way. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. And it's just like all our instructional videos, nothing longer than like 7 or 8 minutes. That's tops, because if you make it longer than that, they're out. So on the service side, this is the things we've had to do to kind of adjust to, in the beginning of podcasting, I'd read 30 pages of instructions from someone.
Yeah.
No one's going to read 30 pages. We had to read 30 pages because there was no way to do this thing without reading those 30 pages.
So I guess, I think it would really be helpful if we could bring together kind of best approaches to growing audience. I think that's probably the number one topic that I think needs to be shared amongst the community is what are the best ways to grow a podcast. Now, granted, it's a complicated topic because it depends on your genre.
Mm-hmm.
There's different approaches that need to be taken in different genres to grow your show. But I think there are some common. I don't know that I have all the answers either. I mean, this is such a changing landscape. I think it would really behoove us to get feedback from others that maybe want to share like maybe one tip or something like that. And certainly, those that are listening to this show today, if you could share like one tip to something that worked for your podcast that showed a bump in your audience, or some tactic or some approach that you took that's been successful, we would love to hear about it from you and share it on the podcast to help the whole podcast community grow their shows. And just keep in mind that just because you share that doesn't mean that you're going to lose anything with your audience. I think it just might be helpful for others in other genres. So, I mean, definitely send us an email and let us know what's worked for you, and let's open this up to the community to help other podcasters become a little more successful. I think it'd be great for all of us.
And Rob, too, is I'll use it.
Yeah.
We're all trying to build audience,
Yeah.
So it's like you can teach we're not dogs. You can teach humans new tricks.
Well, yeah. And Todd, I mean, that's how we both got here, was because we were open to new ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're still doing this podcast. That's why we've been around for 14 years, is because there's been a lot of other people that have come and gone, and we've maintained our presence in the community to be a resource. And that's, it's a challenge. It's becoming more difficult to do that now because the medium, excuse me, is a more challenging place now than ever, because it's growing, it's bigger, there's more people involved, there's lots of people involved in this industry that I've never met now.
Yep, me too.
Where in the early days, it was like, we knew everybody.
Yeah, it was a big family reunion every time.
Yeah.
Good old and it was
many,
good old boy and girls club. Yeah.
Yeah, and now there's just so many people that are involved in this medium now that I can't know everybody now. One of the best ways that we've, Todd, you and I have been able to connect with a large group of maybe new people, hopefully, is through this show.
Yeah.
And get to know us. And I would just love to have more of a feedback loop here of new people in the medium that are trying new things and finding success. Because, I mean, you just go look at the homepage for Apple's iTunes area, and you see just a cavalcade of new shows and new podcasters coming into this medium, and they seem to be doing well. And there's a lot of people doing really great stuff out there in this medium right now. I mean, I'm impressed. Their album art looks fantastic. I mean, there was a time in this medium, Todd, when album art was like, we were out there evangelizing, get your album art to look nice. I mean, people are really getting it now.
Yeah, that's true. Because it's your front door advertisement. It's like, it's walking up to a business. Yeah.
It's the first thing people see is your cover art. And there's a lot of people doing terrific work in that area now. Yeah.
I think too is that we're at a point now as well where, and maybe there was, that talked about earlier in the show where someone was giving me some beef. Maybe there's a perception that we're the old guard. We don't know what we're talking about. We're the new guard. You need to listen to us. That's fine and dandy.
Yeah.
And boy, we're willing to listen, but sometimes retain the right to agree to disagree. But there was a last year at Podcast Movement, the session I did, was the first session in years that I had wall to wall. People couldn't move. The room was full, and I'm going to come back. I just got my email from Podcast Movement that I've been approved for. I'm going to do a second act of that session. And so for me, this is a good time to hear some of these ideas from audience members, because if there's a good one, I'm going to put it in that presentation. And it's exactly that. It's a presentation about building a sustainable, building a big show using a variety. I think I've got 9 to 10 different strategies of things that you can do to build your show and build, different avenues, 10 different ways to skin a cat to build audience, and things that I've done. So if someone throws a good one at us that is working, that they're finding growth, well, that'll go right in the deck. So yeah, I'm excited to see if people will give us some feedback here.
Yeah, because there's obviously shows that are growing and doing well in this medium, and it all gets back to, I think it's the quality bar has leaped a couple of notches over the last couple of years here, and I think focusing on audio quality, focusing on your production, I think as we reach a more representative kind of audience of the population in general, I think we're in this area of so much diversity of expectations that people kind of expect that quality to be there. And I think National Public Radio has contributed to this perception, I think, to some degree. The public radio side of quality production and all this stuff. And I just feel it in the space today that people are really realizing that you have to up your game on the production of this, because people are, there's new people coming in listening to this medium that are expecting something at a higher level. Now, granted, that can sound really bad, because we've also over the years have said that, it's more about, authenticity. It's more about the truth. It's more about being real. And I think that's true to a point for some shows. And I don't know, Todd, what you think about that balance between authenticity, realness, and quality of production, which can be expensive.
Well, I look at, I take my last show as an example. I was toast. I came into the studio, did my show prep, and I was just one of those shows you're like, oh, you're tired. I was tired. I had a full day, and I just strapped on the mic and did the show and powered through. And I told the audience at the end, I said, I'm sorry, I've hit the wall here. And if this show wasn't as high energy as it normally is, I apologize. And I kind of felt bad. I didn't think it was one of my better efforts. But you know what was weird, Rob? The audience came back and said, that was one of the better shows ever. Man, you were like sharing all kinds of stuff. And, I let my guard down a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
And I thought, that kind of, I kind of just had this, moment, really. And I don't know if they're humoring me, but so I think there's a mix. I think there's here on this show. Okay, so I'm a Geek News Center. There's a lot of stuff I can't tell my audience now that I used to, because I was very, very open about stuff going on in business now. And, I was to the point of too open, and people, and, not necessarily you guys, but my competitors was using it against me.
Why would they do that?
I was sharing all these ideas, and all of a sudden, we're getting ready to announce something, and 2 weeks earlier, I'm like, damn it, how did they figure? And I'm like, I talked about it during my show, so it was my own fault. So I had to impose some Steve Jobs rules, be quiet, don't say nothing, hold your tongue, and even on this show, there's stuff I've got in the cooker right now, so I'm sure you guys do too, that we can't talk about. And it's just because the business has changed a lot. So for my regular audience, they knew as much about going on with my business as this audience did. So, but now I can't talk about it as much. So I had to kind of, this previous show, I was a little bit more personal about what's going on at home. So maybe that was what resonated. I don't know, but I think that quality is always important, and great content will always win. But people can smell a fake. They can smell a fake 5 miles away.
Well, and also the term quality to me is such a subjective term too. I mean, what's quality to one person may not be quality to another too. So I think that quality bar needs to really be a gauge that's gauged by the creator of the podcast, I think too. And then over time that they get feedback from their audience about whether or not the audience agrees that the quality is there. And I guess the measure of the quality, I guess, is more around audience growth, but maybe that's not a measure of quality. Maybe that's a measure of your strategy of reaching audience. But maybe the quality is what helps you reach more audience too. I mean, that's how complicated this topic is that if the quality is there, you might be able to inspire that word of mouth that you need to really grow your show. As we all know, that's the backbone of this industry is word of mouth. And that's what drives this industry. And I know down at the NAB, I'm sure, this topic is going to come up. A lot of radio stations are going to want to talk about, well, how do we grow audience of a podcast that's maybe of a radio show that's done for the local market? How do we grow that on a national and global scale as a way to compete? And I think that the radio industry has a real challenge around that. I don't know what you think about that, Todd.
Well, just coming back before we switch to talk about the NAB is that I think a lot of podcasters do the show for them. There's a tier. I still think there's 3 tiers. I still think there's the folks that get together with their buddies and do a show. Some people do a show on topics that they want to talk about. Some people do a show for almost therapy. So there's that tier. They have, sure, they'd love to have a big audience, but they're not worried about it. Then there's that middle tier that want to grow a show, that want a business, that are still, they'd love to quit their day job if they could, but they're a little more focused. And there's a third tier that says the high end tier. There's room for everyone in this space. So, but if you have to decide which tier you want to be in, and then that will predicate the amount of effort that you have to put forth in promoting, building, growing, drawing audience. There's no one. I truly don't believe that for the 99% of us, the content alone won't carry us. You can build authority. You can, there's really 3 tenets here, and one of them is authority. Build that authority piece, engagement piece. That really is a big part of it. Is you just got to do the grind and do the time and do the work and build shows out. I'm rambling because I got to thinking about this. You sidetracked me, Rob, with this NAB discussion here, and then I got my wheels spinning. I've gotten my second article written. It's being edited. It'll post next Friday. But yesterday we put up a post that addresses some of this exact stuff that you just brought up on NAB. And I wrote the headline, "Will Podcasting Save Radio?" Yep. And the radio people, I'm sure, are going to wrinkle their nose at that. But if there's any piece you've ever read from my team, and I wrote the bulk of this, and then we spiced it up with some comments from one of our radio customers. If there's any piece, if you're in the radio industry or thinking about it or have influence on the radio industry, I think this is my best piece ever. And that's saying a lot. We're going to send this out to all the press on Monday. Matter of fact, I've got it queued and it'll blast. And I'm going to be sending the press a piece every week leading up to NAB, and just trying to get these radio folks to think a little bit. And it's stuff that we've talked about on this show. Nothing in this article is a surprise to anyone that's been listening to this show more than 6 months. It talks about what young people are doing. It talks about the expansion of the space, about Spotify, Pandora, about Apple. All this stuff. It talks about radio's still going to be good for another 20 years, but who just filed for bankruptcy? iHeart. Yeah. Now, are they going to come out stronger then sure, because some banker just ate $10 billion in loss.
Yeah.
They ate it. They ate think about that. They went to the banker and said,
sorry.
The only way we're going to survive is you have to write this off. You have to eat it.
Yeah.
And they still have $10 billion in debt. They still have. Yeah. So, but anyway, they're going to come out stronger because they're going to be in a better financial position. But it doesn't change the fact that the landscape is changing. And the reason that they are in trouble to begin with is digital is coming on like a freight train.
Yeah.
Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Google Music. There's 100 different music platforms?
Yeah.
And kids and adults can discover something beyond top 40 on those genres. And
they
then
find the music that they like.
Yeah. So, basically we've talked about Midwest Family Broadcasting as one of our customers, and they talk about a little bit in this article about how they're creating content, how they've monetized it, how they're filling spots and adding revenue that wasn't there before. But if you get a chance to read this piece, it's at powerpresspodcast.com. I'd love to hear your feedback on it for the audience that's listening. And next week, I'll have another piece out that is a little more direct. So I'm doing a series of pieces leading to NAB to try to get people talking prior to the show. So when we're at the show, that the podcast pavilion area is flooded.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I still hear people, leaders in the radio side still voice this concept that they're thinking that the future of podcasting is just a farm league for radio. I still keep thinking, and I commented back because there's a guy I know he's involved in a group of radio stations who made that comment on LinkedIn, and I commented back. I said, well, I think maybe you maybe have that mistaken somewhat, because podcasting is a unique, differentiated medium from radio. It's not really a farm league for radio, because there's going to be lots of podcasts that are created that will never have any interest in being on radio.
That's a fact.
And so they have no reason to be over on radio. Some will, some won't, but most won't.
Right.
And so the fact that you're thinking of podcasts as a farm league for radio kind of depreciates podcasting as a unique and differentiated medium that's growing at a pretty fast rate right now compared to radio. And it's really kind of unfair to the podcast medium to treat it like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It all boils down to, do you want to, here's what radio's, let's break it down in its essence. Radio's local.
Yeah.
So if you're local and your transmitter can only go out 70, 80 miles, that's the most people that will ever listen to your radio station. You have no chance of growing that market. None. Zero.
Yeah.
Well, we're on iHeartRadio. Well, okay. You and 900 other stations, or whatever, 3,000. And, oh, by the way, you now have a few podcasts in there. And I have a bone to pick with iHeart. So don't let me forget to come back. I have some comments on them. But, okay, so if you're a radio station, okay, I'm a radio station, and I tell my audience, come to geeknewscentral.com. Well, the radio station better be every day telling you, to KHBM radio.com. Come over to the website. Don't tell them to go to iHeart. Don't tell them to go to iHeart. Why would you tell them to go to iHeart? Come to your website on the radio, then go to iHeart. And when you're, effing brilliant. When you're on the website, guess what? There could be some podcasts there that you could subscribe to from your local audience.
Yeah. I mean, really, in some ways, those radio stations promoting iHeart is really kind of cannibalizing radio.
Cannibalizing.
Doing. They're cannibalizing themselves.
Why would they do that?
Yeah.
You know, like, this just, it goes, because there's a,
Yeah.
oh yeah. And I cannot even tell you what the address of any radio station here in Hawaii. I maybe know some of their call signs, so I might be able to Google it and find it, but I couldn't just go to my computer and type in the website and go to their website. I've never been. I can't. In the last couple of years, I've never been to a radio station's locally that I don't work with in podcasting's website. But I do. The folks that we work with, we make sure that they know how to drive people to their website. That allows them to, first of all, do what I just said to do earlier. You know, build that presence there. And then they can build a global audience and not have just a local audience. But hey, we're on iHeart.
Yeah, and I hear more and more in the radio space thinking that these smart speakers, the Echoes and the Google Homes, being their future
for radio.
For radio, more and more, I hear them saying that more and more, that they're going to have their live streams available through these smart speakers, and that's how they're going to get back in the home and get listeners in the car and all this stuff again. So it's all focused on linear, is what they're still focused on.
Who owns the smart speakers? Google, Microsoft, and
Apple.
Amazon. Do you think they're going to give them a front row seat? So when you tell your Amazon device to play AC/DC or to play me 90s rock, that device is going to generate a playlist, or will have a pre-programmed playlist that has been put together by Google, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft. It's not coming from the radio station.
Or TuneIn, or these online brands too.
Right. If
Spotify,
they partner with Pandora, Spotify.
Yeah.
If you love your radio station and you tell it, hey, device, play, Coco or whatever the radio station is, maybe that'll work. But come on.
But Todd, that may be their only play here too. I mean, if they're going to maintain radio as the linear experience that it is today, that's the only real pathway that they have going forward into the future, I think, is to do exactly what they're talking about doing here. But the question is whether or not it's going to work.
Right.
Whether they're going to really be able to grow that listener base that maybe is looking for more specific on-demand content versus a linear experience. I just don't know that linear experience is what people are going to want in the future. I think it's a question that I guess it gets back to engagement, right? It gets back to how much control the audience wants to have over their content experience. Do they want to lean back, or do they want to lean forward? And that's been a debate that's been going on in this landscape for many years, and why podcasting has grown in the face of linear. And when I say linear, what I'm talking about is programmed content, right, that's stringed together. Pandora is a little bit more of a linear playback experience, and they're still rather large. I mean, they are the biggest music listening platform out there, and they are more of a linear experience. So I guess, Todd, we have to figure out, well, which is the pathway going forward that's going to reach 90% of the listening audience? Is there a percentage of the listening audience that's coming in the future, right, that's going to be expecting linear because they may be lazier about controlling their content? Does that?
And if they are
those people out there? Are there people out there that want to sit back? It's the question.
It's a question, and if there is, it's easy enough to be done. Most linear on radio right now is programmed. Most people you get after morning drive from 9 to 3 o'clock. That's computer. If they've had a jock that's for, hey, we're gonna play, whatever latest, that's programmed. That's not your local dude. that's somewhere that's programming 80 stations, and
Yeah.
so linear is mostly fake except for morning and afternoon drive. And, well, talk radio's not. Talk radio is talk radio, but I don't know. We'll see. That's not that's not for too far down the path here, but radio's going to be around for 20 years. They're safe for another 20.
Yeah.
But
I don't see them like going out of business in the next decade or more by any stretch of the imagination. I know there's people out there that are saying that radio's dead and all this stuff.
No.
I have a hard time seeing that.
It's not.
Reality.
The polls don't show that either. So let's be, we're just looking way out, and the handwriting's on the wall. You look at what's happened. If you think about where we started in this space, we started when we didn't have the ability to, our mobile phones were not capable of playing media on their own. You had to load the media, and now you can listen and watch on anything you want. I caught
anywhere, anything, anytime.
I saw some guy looking at porn on a mobile phone in a bar yesterday. I'm just like, what? Who does that? Who does that? It's just I'm like, what? So it is, if people are looking at porn in a bar, then they're consuming media with their all kinds of media with their mobile phones wherever. I just couldn't believe it.
Plus, Todd, as we move into these more and more into autonomous cars, I think that people are going to consume all kinds of content in the car.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be audio content.
They can watch us, Rob. They can watch us.
They could watch us. They can watch video. They could read. They can make phone calls, which they've always been able to. People have always made phone calls in the car. But I think radio's lock on the car,
it's gone.
Or audio's lock on the car, I think is in question. I think we're going to have to compete just like anything else.
Yep, they are. And Ford has announced that they are, great gateway here. Ford has announced that all cars from either 2020 or 2022 going forward, all of them will have 4G in them. They'll all
built into the dash, right?
Yep, every car, it doesn't matter which model you buy, everyone will have it.
Yep, I agree. There are those that have said that, the car is just a rolling Bluetooth speaker, and I would say that that's not where the future is. The future is going to be that the car is going to have a fast internet connection, because that's what's going to generate the best experience for the person driving the car, not connecting through your phone.
I do. I see that sun's coming in. I'm going to have to adjust the shade here.
I can see it. Yeah.
We're back to me getting hit in the face. So I have a little issue with iHeart, and I don't know why, but
just one issue.
Yeah. Well, this is a new one. I was in the car, and for some reason I don't know, I was stuck in traffic or something. I'd already looked at Waze, but Waze was saying there was a wreck, and it was bad. So I flipped on the radio to see if I could get more information, and like within 2 minutes, I hear this iHeart ad. And, get the latest radio station, all the podcasts. You can listen to all your podcasts all your favorite podcasts on iHeartRadio. I'm like, no, you can't. You can listen to a few podcasts on iHeart.
It's the same thing with Spotify, right?
You can't listen. Yes, you can't listen to them all. False advertising.
Yeah.
Yep. Rob, talk for a minute. I have to adjust this mirror. It's going to drive me crazy. I'm going to flip it to you.
Yeah, I mean, there's really only a couple places that have a comprehensive podcast catalog, and one of them happens to be run by Todd, Blueberry, and Apple, because most of them don't have complete sets of content out there. So invariably, a lot of, I'm out there whenever I talk to a new platform that's looking at maybe getting into having podcasts on them. I say you've got to have a complete set of shows, because there's going to be some listener that you're going to turn off from your service because they can't find that one show that they want to listen to. So they're going to say, well, if you don't have that show, I'm going to go over to whatever platform has that show. If that's, but most people get locked into their one listening app or something like that. But unless you have a complete set of shows on your platform, you're going to be turning listeners away. That's just how the medium is working. You can't cherry pick in this medium and grow. It's been proven over time.
We did get our first big batch of shows turned on at Spotify, and we immediately sent them another bigger batch.
It's the same with us too. I've been sending shows over to Spotify too, but it's been rather slow though.
Yeah,
it's not growing at a fast rate because it's still a fairly manual process. I mean, it's not as automated as it needs to be.
Yeah, I can tell they're still. I think they're with all the new partners that they've had. I think they're a little surprised because they were asking us, because they already asked us this, but they asked, "How many shows do you guys have that you're going to be submitting?"
Yeah, how many would you like? Right?
Yeah. So I can send you 500,000. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
We'll take care of everybody in one full swat, and then it would have the entire stack. But no.
So Todd, you are sending over to them unique feeds?
We are sending them over. Yes,
you are. Okay, we are too. So
we had to.
Yeah, exactly. You have to.
And it wasn't my first choice.
No, I know. That's why I asked you, because I could tell. I know the history of this, and it hasn't been your first choices to have different feeds for different platforms. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Well,
that's the direction things are going.
And here's the problem is, well, I can't go into it. I'm under NDA. I can't explain the whole reasoning, but here's the ultimate thing. If a takedown notice happens, I have to be able to take that show down. If there's a DMCA,
you're talking about Spotify here, right?
If there's a DMCA copyright issue ordered, I have to be able to take that episode or that show down.
Well, there's multiple reasons.
That's one of the primary ones.
Yeah. Okay.
But we have feeds that going into PowerPress that are fully Spotify compliant. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, all RSS feeds, standard RSS feeds, are Spotify podcast compliant as they stand today.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually a good long-term approach.
So
I think.
we'll see how this goes.
I know that that's what Libsyn's doing too. So I think that's the only valid approach to take with these guys. And I've been very open about it too. I mean, I think that the podcasters need to know that that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So when they do a redirect or something like that new URL is going to get redirected as well. So
right. Yeah, it's going to be transparent to the podcaster on our side. They won't even see it. But we're not advertising what that feed is that we're sending to Spotify. That Spotify is an internal feed.
I mean, I'm not hiding it. It's a fairly simple thing that we're doing.
Right.
It's just an extra couple of characters at the end of the existing feed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nothing, we're doing something magical here.
Right.
It's just a way to differentiate it because, like you said, there's a variety of reasons to do that, and I believe we're going to come across more of this.
You guys, you guys are in a little different situation because you're an internal platform. You've got everything under one roof, per se, or one ecosystem.
Yeah, you're in a different situation.
Yeah, so we've got podcasters that have, RSS feeds, across the planet. And as a matter of fact, someone came out and said later, see, Blueberry only has 600 customers. I'm like, okay, I'm supporting the 14 employees with 600 customers. And yeah, do the math on that. But it's because they were trying to figure out who is the bigger hosting companies. And because 95% of our customers have their own RSS feeds, there's no way to tell. It's anonymized. They could, if they went and looked through at the media URLs, they could then get the number, but no one's done that yet. So I probably just set someone on a journey here. But the actual for us, when we syndicate a show into Blueberry, it goes into our database, and we basically use their feed to source the database content for the directory. And so what we've had to do specifically with Spotify is send them a Blueberry address, specifically because the requirement was they had to be hosting with us, and they wanted a quick and easy way to make sure that they were an actual hosting customer.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
And I think, I just had this idea. It just escaped me. We'll have to move on. I'm sure it'll come back to me. I was going to mention something else.
So anyway, I was just going to look. Have you been following this podnews.net? Have you been following his site?
No, I haven't.
Between him and Pod to Pod, this guy, and this is nothing fancy.
Podnews.com or
podnews.net.
.net.
They are sending out a daily Monday through Friday newsletter that has basically the latest news in it, and it's nothing but very short commentary and links. So this guy's between them and Pod to Pod, they're really finding all the announcements that's out there. Just the previous week, let's see, starting on the 17th, there was like 9 or 10 major stories talking about Omni releasing a normalization tool, Midroll saying 74% of podcast listeners recall advertising. There's some stuff in the New York Times. They're really covering everything. They're not being picky. It's not an East Coast bubble. It's global. It's Europe. It's Australia. So I think he's doing a really good job. I've had a few previous run-ins with him on differences of opinion, but he's doing a real good job on this site and collecting news and putting it out in this specific newsletter.
So Omni Studios put out a normalization tool. Can I say levelator?
Yeah. Is that what they put up? Is that what
no. I mean, essentially, that's the same concept, right?
Yeah.
It's just levelator. I don't know if those that listen to this haven't heard of that tool, but it's been around for a long time.
Or it's the same as Auphonic. It's the tool that you can use on your desktop or go to auphonic.com. In fact, Auphonic is the tool I use on this show. So here's the thing about leveling and normalization. Because I had someone immediately ask me, can Blueberry put that in? Evo Terra asked, how come Blueberry and Libsyn doesn't have leveling? Well, the media file that we get is the MP3 file. We don't get the WAV file. Yeah. So we don't do any post-processing on a media file. People upload the MP3, they publish, and they're off the races. Sometimes people upload a WAV file by mistake, and they say, how come my storage is out? But largely, folks are only, we get the MP3. So to level an MP3 after it has been uploaded is, you're going to cause quality issues.
Well, that, and plus you're going to use huge resources on your network if you're going to do that with every show that comes up there.
Well, it definitely would be a premium service if we were ever to do it, because you're right.
Yeah.
you're definitely talking about, if I do a normalization on this show, just, using my iMac Pro, which has got a lot of ponies under the hood, it takes 2 minutes to normalize or to level my show. And
it's not a trivial processing task.
No.
It's pretty intense.
It is. And when you run that, if you think about the per minute cost, if you're going to, in Amazon, you probably would do this in a Lambda function if it had enough memory to do it. Matter of fact, Lambda functions in Amazon may not have enough memory in the instance to actually do this function. That would be the cheapest way. But if you have to dedicate a box or two, Omni probably, when you're, also it depends on how many hosting customers you have too. Libsyn obviously has more hosting customers than us, and probably you guys as well. But the the number of files that get uploaded daily is in the tens of thousands. So if you're going to level tens of thousands of episodes a day, that's a lot of resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I mean, it would be very expensive to actually do that.
I'm just wondering how these folks are doing this transcription. I wonder if they're using Amazon to do because Amazon has a transcription engine. I wonder if they're using that. That cost like $0.015 a minute to run on Amazon. So it's not, you think, okay, it's only $0.015, but if the process takes 10 minutes to do the translation, you're still looking at 10 cents a file. And you scale that, and then you're talking real dollars.
Yeah. Well, Todd, it just came back to me what I was going to comment on earlier was around self-hosting podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
And how that relates to what's going on with Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
How those folks are more and more becoming challenged to be a part of the ecosystem. I know your platform is really, I think, to some degree, really kind of a little bit more caters to the self-hosting folks.
Oh, yeah.
To some degree, though you're offering a solution that gets them into an ecosystem that would be more podcast friendly, which I think is great. But there's still a lot of shows out there. I would say probably a third of all the shows are self-hosting. Which when I say self-hosting, what they're doing is they're just creating a website like on GoDaddy or HostGator or one of these kind of just website hosting platforms, and then manually generating their RSS feed somehow through a RSS generator or something like that.
Well, they're using PowerPress, and then they're using any plugin, any podcasting plugin, and then they're uploading the media to their own server.
Yeah, so they're hosting the media files in the same place where they're hosting their website. Typically, is how this works. But those shows typically have no pathway into Spotify right now.
None.
Yep.
And I tried.
You tried. What does that mean, Todd? You tried.
I tried.
Okay, that's all you're going to say about that?
Yeah, I tried.
Okay.
So
it didn't work, huh?
Well, no, we wanted to be able to get our PowerPress self-hosters into Spotify. Yeah,
but I got you.
I tried.
I got you. Fair enough.
So and it's a and I get emails daily now. It's beating me up on it, because we're trying to get rich.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So it's so here's
it's not something we did. It's not something we as the host did or the host providers did. It's not our preferential position that we want to be in. I mean, I have to be honest too a little bit. I feel like I'm working for Spotify now. So which is probably, it's not an accurate statement. It's just I just feel like there's so much energy being put into this right now.
Well, there's
just disproportionate.
There's a lot of excitement about the podcasters have a lot of excitement now that the gates have opened to get on, and people are thrilled. We're waiting for the stats API to be provided to us. So, because I know that's going to start next week.
And the other API.
And the other API, yes.
Yes.
Yes. And so, because the next thing people are going to is they're going to want to know, are people listening? And
yeah. I don't like to be at the center of that either, right? Of knowing who's listening, because right now we are. You know what I mean on that.
Well, you can't, if you have content going over there and you can't measure it, you can't bill it.
Yeah.
You can't bill it as any advertising that's gone against it. So
yeah. Things will get better, Todd, right? I keep thinking about that. Things will get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's just one destination point. So we've spent a lot of time talking about it, though.
Well, it's the new shiny thing, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
And people are in a feeding frenzy. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. It's not the second coming of Jesus. And it's a destination point. It is. Wow. I don't think I've seen a feeding frenzy like this in a long time. It's
there hasn't been really a new platform of this scale to really embrace the medium in a long time.
Right.
So there's probably a couple more coming, which I guess it's good.
And I guess I'm lucky we didn't lose all our customers to Libsyn based upon all the excitement, because they were the only game in town for a while.
Well, it's not exactly easy to move a podcast.
It's easy. Oh, we've made it real easy.
Well, I mean, it's easy, but it's not something that most people aspire to. I'll just put it that way.
Right. All right. That's, you get a fair number.
Yeah. There's reasons to do it, and we do. I mean, most of the hosting platforms are making it fairly easy to do it. If you're determined to do it, it's very, very doable now, much more than it has been in the past.
Yeah, a couple hours max.
Yeah.
So, but it is it's a process. So, wow, we're gonna get in trouble here. What else is going on?
We're gonna get in trouble here. That's the whole point of this show, Todd, is we get in trouble.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
because we talk about things that most podcasts about podcasting don't talk about.
No, they won't.
Yeah.
But How Stuff Works partnered up with Panoply, so that was interesting for podcast distribution and monetization. So a big win by the Panoply folks on that.
Yeah, that is a big win.
And a lot of networks are launching. There's networks coming out that I'm like, what? What network is? It's someone ought to compile a list of all the networks. If someone wants a research task, that'd be a cool one. Get a list of all the networks that are out there, because it's huge, and it's like, I had someone call me this. So I said, can you give me your website address? And I go and look at it, and he's got like 30 shows. I'm like, wow, congratulations. Let's talk. So it's, yeah.
Hey, so Todd, I sent you an email to your Geek News account.
Oh, okay.
I got a link from Mr. David Van Dyke, our guest from last week.
Yeah.
He, I guess he pushed out some research on 18 to 34-year-olds consuming podcasts. So I don't know if you...
Okay, I've got it loaded
to
here.
See that.
And so, what is he saying here?
And I haven't had a chance to look at it. It just came in, so.
Yeah.
It's from March 15th.
This is a. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at this chart because it looks complicated. It probably isn't. I just need to read through it.
Looks like it's growth year over year of 18 to 34-year-olds in the consumption of podcasts, 1998 through 2019. So he's doing a projection, looks like, of growth. If you look at that chart at the top right there of your browser, that shows a trend line. It looks like it's like that red line is streaming.
And green line's podcasting.
The green line is podcasting. That's got the sharpest growth path. And then the blue line is radio.
Huh.
So he's saying by 2019, podcasting will equal what radio.
Really? Do you think those lines are going to merge by 2019?
That's what he looks like he's projecting. Yeah.
All right. I need to look at this more.
And then streaming will plateau, which I guess it kind of somewhat, and just grow very very slowly into 2019. So the biggest growth curve is going to be podcasting on demand, and it looks like
and smart speakers have got a pretty straight up.
Yeah. Okay, it's the smart speaker.
Oh, podcasting and smart speakers.
Speakers combined is the one that's going to match radio.
Oh, together. I see. That's a combined number.
Yeah. And then the green line there is
podcasting.
Looks like it is just podcasting in general, and that will continue to grow, but it won't match with radio. But it looks like that the vector there is the smart speakers to matching radio.
So here's
what he's projecting here.
Okay, so for those of you listening, what it is in 2018, radio was the favorite. And again, I'm just reading off the chart. We're not radio favorite. This is the title of the basically the flow. 59.1, streaming 91, favorite podcasting 29%, smart speaker 20, podcasting and smart speaker 49. 2019, radio favorite goes down to 58.8. Streaming goes up to 92. Favorite podcasting goes to 33. Smart speakers go to 33. And of course, podcasting and smart speakers combined is 66, which means that the assumptions being made here is that next year, podcasting combined with smart speakers will be more popular, will be more favorite than radio. And 18 to 34-year-olds. If that chart even has a semblance of accuracy, if I was a radio guy, I'd be freaking out.
I mean, I do have some question about that. The red line with the streaming and what that really represents. Is that streaming, linear streaming? Is that live content, or is it on-demand?
Well, streaming is linear. Well, unless it's an on-demand. Yeah.
By definition, it would be linear and live, right? Potentially, but it doesn't have to be. But I just don't know what that includes. But it does look like it's kind of flatlined.
He says how to read trend line.
Plateaued.
Yeah, how to read trend lines refer to the various media and their annual favoriteness percentages over time. Radio was still a primary consumption platform in 1998 on the left side of the graph, and over time has fallen from 60% to 60% in 2018, saying they use radio as a primary source. On-demand streaming, red line, begins to grow in 2007 with the arrival of the iPhone, with 19% of this age group saying it was their primary way to consume music. By 2019, this number has risen to 92%. Well, I'm not shocked by that number at all.
Yeah.
For 18 to 34-year-olds for consuming media. For music.
But is that red line more of a pattern that represents Pandora?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure because
Pandora is in that percentage range.
Yeah.
Right now.
You know, what do? I go to the gym. First thing I do, Apple Music. Second thing I do, I search for the genre that I want. Boom. I'm on that for an hour. I don't listen to podcasts while I'm at the gym. I need a little more high beat. Boom, 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 you know? And
well, then you're busy doing something you can't really manage. You can't control content as easily, right?
No, I've listened to podcasts at the gym, but my workouts are lower intensity.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because I start slowing down because I'm listening, and I'm like, I need to get this treadmill back to 150 or 158 steps a second. It's not because I don't like listening to podcasts at the gym. It's because I start, yeah. I need some boom, 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 boom,
Okay.
Did you see my Facebook? Did you see my Facebook post? I had a monster workout a couple of days ago. Monster.
No, I must have missed that.
Yeah, I'm an animal. Go ahead. I'll go head to head with anyone on the cross trainer for an hour.
You're an animal.
I am. I'm absolute animal on there. I went off I had a guy at the gym tell me the other day, he says, "Why do you go so hard?" And I said, "Because I have to. I don't have enough time to go slow."
I'm fighting for my life.
But I'm stuck at 189. I can't bust past it. Oh my God.
Oh, you've plateaued on your
I'm in there
your weight loss.
For a month. I've been stuck there,
Yeah.
It sucks. But my resting heartbeat's down to 71. So
that's good.
Well, for a 53-year-old guy or 54-year-old guy, it's good. I'm that old white guy.
Yeah, there you go. trying to become young again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if this chart that we're seeing for 18 to 34-year-olds has
true.
any indication of what's happening, it does feel a little optimistic that things could change that quickly.
Well, if it does, then we're going to 500 million on advertising. If that's truly the case, we will. If it's starting to move like this, which I hope it is. But it's kind of interesting though. The podcasting line has been smooth. That's the straightest line on that whole chart, smooth and steady.
It is smooth and steady going upwards, and it does. The numbers there kind of reflect the Edison research too. I mean, maybe that's where those numbers came from. I don't know.
Yeah. But it is funny that the 18 to 34-year-olds did not even broach the chart until 2012. The question is, were they asking the question in 2011? That's what I want to know. I want to know if they were asking the podcasting question in 2004, 2005.
Well, and it looks like that the podcasting question didn't even come up until here in the research until 2012.
Right.
So it hasn't been a trend line that's been, at least in this research or this chart, that's been going since the beginning.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, there's a bright future for podcast listeners and podcasting. That's the key.
Yeah.
That is the key. All right, Rob, we're hour 35 here already or something like that. So
okay.
At least the timer's getting close to that. And where do we want? Hey, if you got these, these tips and tricks, how you build your show, you can send them to either of us. You can send it to me, Todd@blueberry.com, and just address it, New Media Show, and I'll make sure that it gets brought up in the show. And Rob, where they can reach you?
Rob at voxnest.com will work as well, or rob@robgreenlee.com. You can use either one. And yeah, we'll bring it into the show next week and share that with everybody.
That's right. So. And if you're going to be anywhere near Las Vegas for NAB, and you want to get basically exhibit pass, probably Rob's got them, we've got them. I got a link up on powerpresspodcast.com. You can apply for an exhibit pass. They are $50, and it's past March 2nd. So, but if you want to come out to Vegas and visit the podcast pavilion, or just it's a great show to go to just like, whoa, it's worth just to go see the eye candy of all the gear and nerd out really, and go into all these.
Yeah, if you're an audio geek, this is a great place.
Oh, it's fantastic. It is like it's like, yeah. And I will go to. I have already mapped out where I'm going to go to booths and see and look at new gear and ask questions. And this is the place. So,
well, Todd, I'm going to be back on the East Coast this week. I'm going to be back at that Rain Summit podcast business thing. I'm going to be back there this week.
Yeah, I think I'm banished from that event. So,
for a while, I was feeling that way too, Todd. So, but now I'm back in.
Did you write a check?
Of course. I'm not going to say much more than that, but that's true. We're a sponsor of the event. Yes.
Uh-huh. See how that works? You're back in. Of course you're back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And have fun at Rain. Someone told me the other day, "Are you going to be at Rain?" I said, "No, I don't pay to play."
Rain greenbacks.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Rain. Yes. You guys know my opinion. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for being here. Todd we already told our email addresses at Geek News or at Rob Greenlee for Twitter. We'll be back here next Saturday for more fun and games. Send us those comments. Send us your tips and tricks. We want to hear it. And tell these two old guys what we're doing wrong and how to improve the podcasting space. Seriously.
That's right.
All right, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Let me shut the stream down. Oh, we had a good number of people on.